People in life can be categorized into what I call hedgehogs or foxes. And the personality. And some people categorize them into turtles and the rabbits. You've heard the story about the rabbit in the turtle race, and the turtle ultimately wins the race, and the rabbit starts out fast. Well, in life, a lot of kids start out fast and wound up not finishing. Hedgehog versus fox. The fox is smart and cunning, but gets caught up in lots of details. Does it sound Germanic to you so far? Becoming misdirected and chasing his own tail. Hedgehogs do only one thing and do it well and nothing else. Eat. The best CEOs of all time are hedgehogs. Example, Jimmy Carter was smart, worldly, tackled many issues and got lost in detail. Ronald Reagan only had one thing on his mind for 8 years, Russia. Remove the evil empire. Remove the evil empire. Remove the evil empire. They say that Jimmy Carter invented Washington gridlock because he would not sign one document that he didn't read and fully understand. No president has time to read all the documents he signs. And he understood, and he was intellectually very bright. It turns out Jimmy Carter had a mentor. He went to Annapolis, and his mentor was the father of the atomic submarine, Admiral, his name escapes me now. The evil empire. Reagan was a hedgehog. All great hedgehogs have three common traits. One, passionate about what they believe in. Two, recognize that they are genetically encoded for their chosen field of endeavor. That could be German. You think you're genetically encoded for something. They all love what they do, and somebody will pay them for what they love to do. And as I've said all along, focus, laser beam focus, nothing else. Laser beam focus, nothing else. I've said it 50, 100 times so far. And I will continue to say it because it's, not arguably, but it is my experience of almost 40 years, the biggest stumbling block of the people that have come through here since 1993, and all the seminars I've given all over the world, the governments that I've dealt with, not the least of which is the Icelandic government, the British government, the Israeli government, the Kuwaiti government, the Canadian government, the U.S. government, the Mexican government, the Yemen government. There's a couple others I've done stuff for. I can't think of them right now. But they all lack the same focus. Virtually none of them. And that's, once you get a big bureaucratic quagmire, that's what happens. And that's why I look at some of the organizational charts of some of the things that I'm involved in. They look like fucking mini General Motors now. And I don't even really know if they're functional, but after this seminar, I had time to look at them in the last week or so, 10 days, when I was waiting for Sally to recover from her surgery that she had 10 days ago. I'm going to go in and we're going to cut 2 or 3 layers out of it. I don't even know what 2 or 3 layers should be cut out, but I know after almost 40 years it doesn't make a fuck. I'm going to fire every other person. Every other. Until I get it down to manageable. One of the companies I'm involved in, that I'm chairman of, we have 75% support factor for 25%. So we have 3-to-1 support to operations. Now I just got done doing this 3 years ago in the same fucking company. And I got them down to 1.3-to-1. Now we're back to 3-to-1. Every time I bring in a new CEO, a new general manager, everybody, they bring in their own fiefdom, and that's good. They bring in their own people that are loyal to him, and then those people bring in their own people, and those people bring in, and pretty soon we got the same fucking organizational chart again. It's unbelievable. No business, other than the army, military, fighting people, needs support that big. Nobody. Teams with the clearest sense of vision and impact win. And you've heard me already say it a bunch of times. Vision is great. When you were focused on your vision, you got it accomplished. Since you haven't had that same kind of focus, you haven't done much. Talent-based people are the most important assets of the new economy. Best question to ask a CEO: why would great people want to be part of your company? Well, with the greatest respect, gentlemen, it's not likely that anybody great's going to join your deals. Not going to happen. It just isn't. Doesn't mean it can't change. We go through a test, I think it's tomorrow, or maybe it's late today, where we answer questions about would anybody great hire you? And we probably, in most cases, we know the answer. Customers will constantly raise the bar expectation for companies, especially in the 21st century. I mean, expectations of the customers have continued to get greater and greater and greater the last 20, 30 years. Now, I like the restaurant business except for the customers. I like the wedding business except for the customers. I like all the business except you got to deal with the fucking customers. In the wedding business, you got to deal with the fucking mothers. They're pain in the ass. I hope some of you slobs hear this fucking tape. They're a pain in the ass. We call them Godzillas. I mean, and the bride-to-be turns into a fucking Godzilla. She's lucky somebody's going to marry her fat ass. The internet is a giant lab experiment for corporate America and those companies that recognize this and play well within the rules of ambiguity and fluidity will survive and win. Nothing is cast in concrete on the internet. Well, the truth of the matter is nothing is cast in concrete anywhere. And that's, again, the Germanic people have trouble. They like things cast in concrete. Yet nothing is. Some of the big companies that have been around 100, 150 years in the world, not the least of which I was part of the organization for a long time, are lucky they got 100 years of head start on everybody. Because they couldn't start up again today. The best form of customer service is self-service. Constantly empower customers to get their own answers themselves. This is a huge differentiator. The net is moving that way. And one of the things that has been a stumbling block is the customer service call centers. Because people don't like talking to Indians. And people don't like talking to people that, have different voices. And again, it's back to change. Nobody likes change. They like talking to somebody that sounds like they do. Now, do German call centers, they're Germans that answer German call centers.
Oh my God.
No?
No.
What are they?
They moved to the Czech Republic, they moved to India.
Yeah, but so they speak English at the call centers.
German.
They speak German with an Indian accent.
Maybe even not. It's astonishing, but if you try to find out where they're sitting, they're often India or Czech Republic and Ireland also.
But they're speaking to you in German.
Yeah, a German accent and.
So they've got a better German accent than they do an American accent. That's interesting. Didn't know that. The clock speed of a business is constantly accelerating. What really matters more than money. Money you can sometimes get back. At the time you can't. You've heard me say that several times. Most even bright underestimate the value of time. Think more in terms of return on minutes, which I've already talked about, and return on investment. People waste so much goddamn time. My sons that attended those meetings, many years ago, they tell these guys, "Why do adults waste so much time?" There's an interesting exercise that Bill Gates, and is still day-to-day active in Microsoft, and Ballmer, the now CEO, who he's known for 30 years. They meet every 2 weeks, and they take your diary or your iPad or your notepad, whatever you keep your schedule in, and they swap it, and they look at it. Let's say Stephen and I are doing it. Stephen, you don't need that. He didn't ask Stephen, you don't need that meeting. Delete, delete, delete. The same thing Gates for Ballmer. Delete, delete, delete. And then they hand them back. Didn't even tell them what the fuck they deleted. And guess what? It didn't mean a fucking difference. They couldn't remember what was deleted, so how fucking important could it have been? Another thing Gates used to do, I don't know if he does anymore, 6-minute intervals. That's how he schedules meetings, every 6 minutes. Every 6 fucking minutes. You can't even say hello in 6 fucking minutes. You got the point across, you sold your message, and you came to a conclusion in 6 fucking minutes. Next! You can't. Very few people can. I used to schedule 15 minutes. I wasn't good enough to do 6 minutes.
The problem with 6 minutes is, I scheduled 15 minutes as well. The problem is with 6 or 10 minutes, that it's harder to get the appointments then when you say, can we meet this guy at 6 after 2?
Well, but you don't tell them it's 6 minutes. Sometimes they ask, well, why is it 12:06 or 12:12 that you wanted to meet me? He says, well, if I was a German, I'd say, well, I'm not, excuse me, I'm kind of anal and just, which is the fucking truth. It's not like you're lying to them.
You should make excuses for it.
Yes, no, that's true. You shouldn't. But I mean, I don't even want to know your reason. Okay, but I mean, the SIP, the impaler, probably has a reason. But I mean, every 6 minutes, just imagine that. And just imagine trading your diaries over. But then deleting it and not even know, And I don't even know if on an iPod or one of these things, if you delete something, is there a record where it goes? Does it go to a file of deletion?
On the computer, you can see it again.
Okay, in other words, so if you click it into your computer, then you see it again. But it's not actually a physical on the handset. But anyway, I mean, your meetings should be shorter. There should be fewer. We're going to talk about time management. Size is the enemy of speed. Speed to react matters more than the size of a company. We're supposed to be the little PT boats, the little boats running in and out of the Bismarcks of the world. But we don't act like that. The computer has purportedly, allegedly, ostensibly allowed us to react more quickly, and we don't. We act less quickly. I got more done 25 years ago in a shorter period of time than I do now. And it's not because my decision-making process has changed, but everybody else's decision-making process has changed. Now, I know I'm a formidable guy, and I know that people don't like to come to me unprepared. And I tell people, don't fucking come to me unprepared. So, I compound the situation. But, so they, in turn, take more time to prepare and more time to deal in detail. And it's all right if I ask you something, you say, instead of hemming and hawing and coming up with a bullshit excuse, I don't really know that, Dan. Can I get back to you? I would much rather have that we spend less time, but Germans don't like to do that. They feel it's an affront to their intelligence if they don't have the answer. And I've been to a lot of German goddamn meetings, believe me. And I've asked a lot of fucking hard questions. And I mean, they'll just talk and talk and talk and talk. And finally somebody will say, Hans, you don't know. Can't you just tell Mr. Pena you don't know? And it is not possible. The vocal cord is choked up. And I cannot say it. Because back in the back of the room, somebody's got a little pad. Hans did not know. This is the third time good leaders make sense of change in the world, then impart that insight to the team. And I told you that one of the toughest problems you're going to have is going back and the people not just the team, your immediate team, but the people you do in business with in general, because you're going to demand a quicker response. One of the things I notice when I come back here for any length of time, how laid back everybody is here in Scotland. It's like they're all, like we're in the Caribbean and everybody's on marijuana. I mean, hey man, I'm okay, you're okay, dude. I mean, there's no fucking sense of urgency whatsoever about anything. Nothing. Now, it's better in London, and it's much better in New York. And it's really great in Shanghai because they're all jacked up. The thing about China is they're so excited about having money now and what money buys, and they spend a great proportion of their money on their spendable income on Gucci and brand names. We're going to talk about branding in the next couple of days. They didn't have those opportunities. Here they got the opportunities, but nobody cares. Nobody cares. So nobody ever thought about, they built the Adrian's Wall. I mean, the Scots could have gone around it. They could have invaded from the ocean. I mean, there's a lot of things they could have done. Okay, but the Scots take it as we were keeping out the English. They got an impaler excuse, Instead of the English keeping out the Scots, the Scots were keeping out the English. Shifty things change. When life is good, it's tougher than when things are bad. But you should constantly be shifty, morphing. As I said, you don't wait until your product is not bought anymore to figure out a derivative product. You should have, and when we talk about marketing, most marketing products have at least 10 derivative products, if not in semi-production on the boards to come up with. You burn one out and then stop and then start with the next. But it's the same in our business. When I remember the German architectural firm, I said, why? I think I told you yesterday, why would anybody do business with you? Well, they have for 70 years. Now, what kind of bullshit reason is that? And now look at it. People want to be led by strong leaders, and good leaders are constant students. All the high-performance guys that I've had the privilege of being around and working with, and some mentoring me, are always in a constant change. They're in flux. They're trying to be better. Everybody, they're trying to be better. People that sit back on their laurels and expect I will build it and they will come, are a dying breed. They're just about gone now. The job of a CEO is not to be smartest guy in the room, but to attract other smart guys to work for him. The group brain is far more powerful than the individual brain. And this is something that I've morphed into, I've changed into. 25 years ago, I didn't believe that. And I was so much smarter than anybody that I was around. I couldn't believe a group, would help me in it. Now, either I've gotten dumber and everybody else has gotten smarter, or a combination of the two. And it's actually that I wasn't as smart as I thought I was. That's the real thing. But when you're young, you're full of yourself. You think, like Impaler over here. I mean, we think that we're, I don't know if invincible is the right word, because I know young people do a lot of crazy things that should have killed them but didn't. So, but I mean, but it's a group brain. When I was young, I didn't believe in, what's that Napoleon Hill thing? Mastermind groups. I didn't believe in that. Because I go into a mastermind group and I think that somebody put a Hoover, a vacuum cleaner in my brain and sucked all my brains out, because I'm giving all the ideas and all the answers and they're giving nothing. Now, in the last 10 or 15 years, I believe, of course, I'm not as full of myself now as I used to be, but the group, for example, the Whipple, Jeremy, Sally, and myself, I mean, we're really smart, and we're even smarter as a group. I mean, we've seen it all.
I agree with the statement, and you agree with it, and you also agree probably with the statement that a camel is a racehorse designed by a committee.
Oh, that's true.
So,
yeah, but I'm not talking about decisions by committee.
You're talking about a group brainstorming, and then the CEO taking the decision.
Correct. Absolutely. That's absolutely correct. So, we get all this input, and a lot of times, even my own group, well, okay, let's take 3 months and do this. We're taking a week. I normally, with everybody's timeline, I try to cut it by at least 90%. Because to me, they're all lazy fucking programmers. Trying to pad the books with time, to justify their incompetence. I got on the phone last night with my senior guy programming. I ripped him. He didn't know why I was ripping him. I just tore him a fucking part. You lazy cunts. You lazy this. Don't you tell me. I haven't even looked at your weekly report. You better issue me another one with new timelines. Okay, sir. Don't okay me, you stupid bastard.
But they still work for you. I mean, if you really hit them hard, because programmers are a bit sensitive sometimes.
Oh yeah, I've had guys leave. I mean, I've gone through 50 in the last 4 or 5 years. At least 50.
Yeah,
And I don't care. But the one thing, I'll never forget this. This was 2000 or 1999, 2000. I just taken over a company called 3click.com. It was called, I called it 3click.fuck. It was right on the cutting edge of, you want information about restaurants and what do you call it? Okay. And I did it for a bank. And Sally, I installed as, I think she was CEO. Whipple was, I forgot what I installed him for. Anyway, so we moved down to Sarasota, Florida. And we lived across, the penthouse that we rented, we lived across from Jerry Springer. Never forget this. And we're sitting with a board meeting, the first board meeting, and these guys are living on yachts. They raised a lot of money. And they're living on yachts, and everybody's driven a Porsche Carrera 4 at the time, Aston Martin 7, DB9 7, excuse me, yeah, DB9. And I mean, these guys are living large. And there was an ex-IBM guy that was on the board, and there were 3 founders. And one of the founders was the technical guy. And so he came in and he said, he was complaining he wanted a new Porsche Carrera. Porsche was his. I said, okay. And I said, at that time it was about $120,000. And so he got out. I said, okay, we'll talk about it, but it's not like you're going to get a new car. In fact, you're going to be getting rid of that car. So I'll have to leave. I said, okay, well, fine. Next. So when he left the room, I asked the guys, I didn't know, at that time, 10 years ago, I didn't know much about technology. I had been CEO of another IT company before that. And I said, how many guys in the planet are there like him? And the IBM guy turned to me and said, I don't know about the planet, Dan, but in the U.S. there's 500,000 of them. A 500,000 guys like him? I says, yeah, maybe more. How many better than him? A 500,000. I said, wait a minute, stop him. I brought him back in and said, you're fucking fired. That was it. Next. And then his little team, they got together, pissing their pants and shaking and saying that, well, if he leaves, we're going to leave. I said, boom, don't let your door hit you in the ass on the way out. Get out, you cunts. And I don't believe in this reservoir of knowledge that all these are supposed to have and you can't start over without them. That is horseshit. I've done it so many fucking times. You hire good people, the best people, they can figure out what these fuckers did in no more than a week. Sometimes they can do it in 2 or 3 days. Yet they hold the companies captive. They don't have money captive. I was going to write a paper for a big technology magazine saying exactly what I'm telling you now. And then they thought about it. They said that they thought that they'd lose too much readership. And I said, do you think what I'm saying is a lie? He said, no, we agree with you, Mr. Pena, but there's certain truths that we can't publish. We just can't. It's not good for our readership. But we're held hostage by a lot of things. Not just my pet peeve is programmers, but I mean, I'm hot on that. But there's a lot of things that we're held hostage to. We're also held hostage to bad lawyers, bad accountants. Oh, the amount of time and to get everything transferred from this guy to that guy, it does take time. But good is the problem to being great. Being good enough is not good enough. Every 3 years, I used to bring in the Big 8, Big 7, Big 6, now Big 4 accountants. I said we're going to review everything, and we're going to review and we're going to bid out our contract, all our audit work. And of course the auditor, your current auditors, shit over this, and we bring in, and normally, not always, but almost always, your current auditors will reduce your audit fee by 10, 20, 30, 40, as much as 50%. So that leads me to believe, well, then you've been fucking me. Because, you get these letters every 12 or 18 months. Well, because of cost of inflation and this, that, and the other thing, we got to up our audit fees. That's all bullshit. You know, the poor fucking auditors that are working and haven't got a raise in 9 years. You know, they're all operating on long-term leases in their buildings, so those costs haven't gone up. Electricity costs may have gone up and something like that. And the same thing. And so, you know, I've switched auditing firms. I told Siemens they should switch from KPMG. I couldn't get them to do it because they estimated the cost in the hundreds of millions of euros. But then when Siemens got caught cheating, and in my judgment, KPMG had to know, being their auditor, had to fucking know. So then they hired PwC, and I'm not saying anything that's confidential information, this is all in the fucking newspapers. They hired PwC to audit the auditors. And in my judgment, PwC whitewashed the deal. They found a few people, you know, not the managing partner, not the this, some poor little fuckers, you know, that happened to be sorry enough that we're never going to make a partner, and so they, you know, they planted the seed of guilt there. Current accounting and measurement systems and metrics are outdated for the new economy companies. I agree. They just are, and a lot of the regulatory bodies are outdated. And you know, a prime example is our volcanic ash. Now, I mean, we're using rules that were adopted for aircraft that are almost 30 years old, and now everybody's getting up and when it hits your pocketbook, everybody complains. You know. Now, I don't know if any of the, because you can't fly, you can't land without the air traffic controllers, but if they weren't regulated by that, I mean, people would have already been taken off in planes. They would have already been taken off in planes.